How many of you have ever had a relationship in your life? Yeah, relationships are important. How many of you have experienced changes in your relationship because of illness? Many of you. Cancer is something that changes our perception of our life. Okay? Now, how many of you know what I do? What my background is? A couple people. So I'm a clinical psychologist, trained generalist, have specialized in sexual health and functioning for many, many years. So I talk about sex all day, every day. And what I like to tell people is sex doesn't happen in a vacuum, unless you're really into vacuums. It happens in context, right? It happens in context to how we view ourselves, how we view our bodies, how we experience pleasure, how we experience openness. Sometimes that's by ourselves, sometimes that's in relationship to a partner. How many of you have experienced illness like cancer that all of a sudden had you start thinking about your own mortality? How many of you experience sex as vitality? To me, one of the things that's shown up the most in people that I've worked with over the years is that when cancer shakes your world up, the ability to feel as though the vitality of your life is threatened. How we experience our body, how we experience pleasure and joy, not only with a partner but within ourselves, gets changed. Now, how many guys in here were given messages growing up about what it was supposed to be as a man to show up in the bedroom sexually? I know I did. Our bodies are assumed to work a certain way, right? We're supposed to bring a certain kind of vitality to our relationship, right? And I'm going to use air quotes here, right? Because a lot of that's up here. It's a message, it's an image of what things are quote-unquote supposed to be. And as long as everything stays the way that we think it should and what we've experienced in the past, we don't question it. When our bodies change, we worry. Am I broken? Is this done for me? Is my partner going to be okay with this? Are they going to feel okay? Are they going to feel like I'm lacking something that they want and need? I'm seeing a lot of heads shaking here. Now, when you get the first diagnosis, right, oftentimes sex drops to the background and you think, is my life in danger? You get offered treatment options, you maybe go through those treatment options, and then afterwards you go, whew, okay, cancer-free. Let's get back to business. And your body goes, wait, there's some changes here. And then the flood of questions come up. Yeah. So what do we do with that? That's what I want to talk about today. How do we restore intimacy in the relationship or by yourself? I mean, you don't have to give a show of hands, but I imagine that some of you maybe not even partnered, right? Sometimes people don't have partners and they just think, never again. They don't look for partners. They don't engage their own sexuality afterwards either because they think, it's done. I want to give you an offer of hope, right? That intimacy doesn't have to go away, but it may not look the same as it was. To me, that's one of the biggest things that's the challenge for people is that you have to reimagine your body. You have to reimagine how you experience pleasure and joy when it comes to sexual intimacy. Now, of course, sexual intimacy doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? So there's also the emotional intimacy that we experience with a partner, right? Do we feel seen? how many partners in here try to understand what it's like for your partner to go through this. But there might be a little bit of a gap because I don't know. My body doesn't work like that. If you don't have a penis, if you don't have a prostate, you can't exactly know, but you can get close. And for your partner to be able to see that you are making attempts to understand and to maybe grieve some of the changes, right? That emotional intimacy sets the stage for the vulnerability of trying something new. I'm glad that went off because that was rough. How many of you imagine sex happening a certain way? How many of you all had a formula in your relationships? Yeah. People develop formula. We're creatures of habit, right, as humans. We like our routines. It makes us feel safe and secure. And that's one of the challenges. Safety and security in relationships is based on predictability and knowledge. When that gets threatened, it can create excitement, right? Sometimes people get bored in relationships. We've been together 20 years. We know exactly what's going on. We need to spice it up a bit, right? But it can also be scary. The things that create challenge are the unknown and the unpredictable. So when our bodies become less predictable, we start to worry. That's anxiety. Anxiety is our brain trying to figure out the potential loss of something important or the fear that the something important won't happen. That's all it is. How many of you have experienced anxiety in your life? Probably everybody. Why? Who wants to play? Why do we have anxiety? Yes.
Fear of the unknown.
Fear of the unknown. Yeah. Why else?
Fear of the known.
Yeah. Fear of the known. Yeah. So it's fear-based. What do we get worried about? Do we worry? Do we get anxious about stuff we don't care about? No, not at all. Anxiety is there. It's a factory standard human emotion, right? Now, how many of you guys were told growing up, don't worry about stuff, tough it out, get through it? I got those messages. Now, sometimes it's overt. Sometimes it's really sneaky. How many people in here played sports when you were growing up? Okay. How many of you did like anything like performance-wise, music, theater, anything like that? Okay, a bunch of people. So a lot of people have done performative things. Sometimes we hear messages that are meant to be helpful. We're getting ready to go out and do a concert. Oh, I'm doing a solo today. Or getting ready to go up to bat and we're nervous. And some well-meaning parent might say something like, hey, don't be nervous, just do your best. What do you think about that statement? Is that good? What's that?
It's a useless statement.
Useless. Why?
Because they're not in your position. You're the one that's going up there. You're the one kind of
Yeah. So for one, they may not be able to really step into your shoes. Okay. What else?
It could be encouraging.
It could be. Why?
Because you know you could do better, but you're something inside you just saying this is all I can do.
Okay. All right. What about others? Any other?
The top of it's the part that they're trying to do the best.
Yeah. So maybe a statement of the obvious. Of course, you're going to go out and try your best, right? So here's the challenge in this. It sounds like it could be trying to be supportive, but it could be useless because they're not in the position. Hey, don't be nervous. Do your best. There's a hidden message in there. Don't feel what you're feeling. Do your best instead. Now, it's not overt, but we hear those things over and over and over, and then we're told by our own brain, you shouldn't be feeling this. You should be doing your best instead. You could just as easily tell that young child, hey, it's okay to feel nervous. Just go out and do your best. Focus on the things that you can control. Get in your batting stance. hold your instrument, take a full breath, right? We don't have to hide the emotion to get to where we're going. How many of you have experienced anxiety when it comes to sexual intimacy with your partner? Wondering, am I going to show up the way that I would want to, or the way that I used to? How many of you have avoided intimacy for fear of what was going to happen? Happens all the time. Right? That's why I have a job. And honestly, and I see people from their early 20s to their upper 80s to 90s. Right? And these messages show up a lot. Right? They get punctuated when we go through major body changes. Right? And it's kind of unknown, right? We have surgeries that are meant to be nerve sparing. Sometimes that goes really well, sometimes there's surprises. Sometimes people can experience an erection after treatment, sometimes they can't. Sometimes ejaculation still occurs, sometimes it doesn't, or it's retrograde. Sometimes there's changes with orgasm. I was told that you were talking about urinary function and how sometimes that shows up during climax, right? And depending on how you think about that, it could be a deterrent. So oftentimes I hear from people, I want to get back to the way it used to be. That's a challenge, right? What I like to encourage people to look at is, what were the things about what it used to be that felt important, that felt enjoyable? How do we find a new version to express that, to engage that? Can you expand out how you experience touch from head to toe? What kinds of activities do you do? Is there sharing? Do you still talk about fantasy? So if we think about intimacy and relationship, you can't have intimacy without vulnerability. Right? So talking about maybe some of the things that feel like losses, we have to grieve. This has changed and this feels like a loss. That's intimacy. I still crave touch. I don't know how I'm going to receive it. That's an intimacy. Sharing a dream, sharing a vision, sharing a fantasy. I'm curious, what questions are popping up for people already? Or observations?
How do you overcome that fear?
Ah, that's a good question. Did everyone hear it? How do you overcome that fear? You don't. You understand your fear. Fear shows up because there's something important, right? And so oftentimes what I'll hear, I see some familiar faces in here, so this might be a repeat, but it bears repeating. Who here has heard of a dead person goal? Nobody, okay. So when I work with people, I talk about dead person goals and live person goals. Dead person goals are this. If your goal is something that a dead person can accomplish, probably not a good goal. Because all you have to do is die. Now, there are some people that when dead person goals show up enough, guess what they start thinking? Maybe my life should be over. Right? So if somebody says, oh, I don't want to feel fear anymore. Do dead people feel fear? Not that I can tell. I haven't hung out with too many of them. But live people do. And so when people say, hey, I've got this fear, I've got this anxiety, this is showing up, usually what they're saying is, I've got this fear, I've got this worry. I need to overcome this and get rid of it to get to the things that I care about. No, you don't. Let's look at what that fear is saying. It's saying this is so important. And I feel like there's a barrier there. And so what we do is we lean into it and say, what is it telling us? We look at our fear as an informant. And we say, what are the important things? And we look for the things that we can do to engage those. Right? I'm afraid that my partner won't love me anymore. Right? I'm afraid that if we go to the bedroom and my body doesn't respond, they're going to be disappointed. Okay, so what does that tell us? We care a lot about our partner's feelings. And so then we can step into that and ask our partner, what is it that you are hoping for? Maybe we need to grieve together. Right? Maybe we find ways to still find that satisfaction. Does that answer your question? Yeah. I think our culture's afraid of fear. Think about that. We're afraid of fear. We have fear of fear. Nothing to fear but fear itself.
I was going to say, as you were speaking, I was thinking about the media, advertisements, or how to address what you're talking about,
Right.
problems that we may be having in the bedroom.
Yeah.
This is a big influence.
Absolutely.
Would you agree?
Absolutely.
That causes us to have these fears. We
Yeah.
see these advertisements, the female and the male,
Yeah.
heterosexual, and then that influences us greatly.
Yeah.
And that gets into us, and that's how we think. That's how we led to believe something's wrong with us.
Yeah. Yeah, how many of you have heard all the radio commercials?
Yeah. TV commercials.
All the time. Yeah. Are you tired? Not showing up in the bedroom like you used to? Come see us. Your wife will thank us. Yeah. And look. And look, those medications and those treatments are helpful, right? Here's the trick, though. From a psychological perspective, as a psychologist, I look at it as like, okay, symptom reduction might be nice, but my focus is how do we become more flexible in how we engage our lives, the vitality part of it that I was talking about. How do we engage those things? If symptom reduction happens, it's a nice side effect, right? Anxiety can decrease by engaging the things that we're afraid of. Over time, I mean, we've got lots and lots of studies to show you. I mean, how many of you have ever heard of exposure therapy? Yeah. What's the point of exposure therapy? Right? If you give yourself the opportunity to engage the thing that you're afraid of, eventually you'll start to see some dissipation and anxiety. Here's the kicker, though. You might have it show up again. And if you think that getting rid of the experience is the point, you're going to go, oh shit, it's back. If you understand that the point is to do the things that are important, whether you're feeling anxious or not, then you go, oh, interesting. I felt a little anxious today. And you remember the things that you did. You lean into it, right? And so those medications and those things can be helpful. But my question is, why do it anyway? What's the important part? People say, oh, because I want to experience joy and fun and playfulness with my partner. How many of you experienced a shift in your mind where sex became a problem to be navigated and solved? That's a very different mindset than sex and intimacy is a fun experience to be had. And it changes how our body responds to it. How many of you have heard of fight and flight? Okay. How many of you know what it does to the body and the blood and all of that, right? Yeah, so it shuts certain things down. And so if you have challenges with erection in the first place and you go in and your body goes into fight or flight, it shuts down peripheral blood flow. Fingers, toes, penises. Right? Because we don't need those for running and fighting. Right? And so if we go in and we connect with a partner and we feel a sense of safety and openness to experience what is available rather than what we think should be available, there's a lot that we can do. I was talking with Sandy ahead of time, and one of the things that I tell people a lot of times is, there's a lot of fun things you can do with a non-erect penis. But you got to get creative. Because most people have an understanding based on what we've heard, seen, experienced in the past. So we have to rethink, what does pleasure look like? Check time here. Okay, we're doing all right. What's that? Yeah, yeah. And one of the things, Sandy wanted me to give you guys a teaser. I've got a whole bag of some stuff here, right?
Technology.
Technology, yeah, that big bag of toys. And I'm going to be set up in the conference room over there with some of those put out so that if people want to ask questions or talk to me a little bit more one-on-one, I'll be there for a good half an hour if you want to come in. But teaser-wise, so for example, this toy here, and you'll be able to see it up close if you come into the other room. This particular toy is interesting because you don't need an erection to use this toy. How many of you know that you can still, as long as the nerves are there, I'm going to caveat to that you can experience orgasm without an erection? Does everybody know that? You do. Good. You're a step ahead of some people then. This particular one is nice because it's flexible. It's got a flexible cuff. Right here in the center, there's a vibration unit. Press the button. If anyone can hear it. Push it again. Does different wave patterns. This sits along this way. I should have grabbed my other toy. Yeah.
Yeah, the rest of the toys, yes.
Puts vibrational stimulation on the frenulum. Very pleasurable. The fun part about this one too is you flip it over, and if you're on your back, there's a secondary vibration on the top. And so if you have a female partner, they can straddle the toy and also use it as a vibrational aid. So you can experience dual pleasure. It can be partnered, right? It's also got a little remote control. And they actually have a new version of this that has an even fancier remote. That's great. Yeah. So you can adjust it accordingly.
What is that called?
So this one, yes. I don't. Look, and you know, since you mentioned that too, I've got to say, I am not funded by any toy companies or anything like that, right? So, I mean, there's no conflict of interest here, but these are things that people have found to be very useful. So this one is called the Pulse Duo, and it's by a company called Hot Octopus. Welcome to the sex world. I always tell people, I love my job. Yeah. So this one, this is a toy. If I raise a hand, no, you don't have to. How many ladies know about clitoral stimulators? So what this one is, and this one actually has some Bluetooth technology. So sex tech has gotten very good. How many of you travel for work? Anyone? Yeah? There's some toys. There's a company called Levents, and they actually have like a his and hers. You can link those toys up to an app, and you can be distant, and what you do with one will translate to the other one in a different state. Yeah. So you can actually have some influence on what your partner experiences with their toy.
Well, it's connection.
That's right. But that's the point, right? This is about connection, right? It's about how do we share in joyful moments, right? To me, that's what, you know, makes sex so beautiful. I really believe pleasure heals. And so creating that vitality and that enjoyment of interacting with a partner can be so nice. Right? But this one creates a little puff of air, and basically it works to create almost a little bit of a suction pulsation sensation on the clitoris. People like these. The nice thing about this too is that you can hold it in different configurations, and so it doesn't even have to impede penetration, right, if that's still available to you. The nice thing about these too is that if you want to be involved in your partner's pleasure too, even if your body's not cooperating, toys allow you to kind of engage, right? You can hold it, you can watch, you can engage in that exchange of sensation. Right? So, any other questions before I move to the...
So, based on what you just done, that thing, that you had a prostatectomy.
Yeah.
Those boys you probably helped, but you may not be experiencing that in record.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier. We have to reimagine, right? Because so much of what men get taught is that sex is erection dependent, right? And it's not. Sexual pleasure does not have to be based on a specific body function, right? And so it gives you opportunity to engage with your body differently. You need to reimagine what it looks like, right? That's the creative aspect. Right? And if there's anything that I would want you to come away from this with, is that if you're experiencing changes in your body, ask yourself, what can I do? What is available to me? Right? Because it's easy to remember what was available to us. What is available? How can I experience pleasure? How can I give pleasure? How does my partner experience me now? How do I experience them now? Right? That creative mind.
Right. One thing I was going to have you touch on, the fact that age, for the prostate cancer patient, it's primarily an age, one of a 50-year-olds, now more 50, but also it's more 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
And at 60 and 70, things don't work, as we listen to the commercials.
Oh, yeah.
Things don't work the older you get.
Yeah, that's right.
So how does that apply? You have to think of that as well as we do that relationship.
Yeah, no, I love that.
Those may be issues we'll be having, forget about prostate cancer.
Yeah.
You still have those issues.
Yeah, that's a very important point, right? And how many of you growing up, you know, kind of had this idea that like, oh, older people don't have sex, right? Oh, I assure you they do, right? But that's part of it, right? Is this idea that as we age, I mean, I've worked with plenty of people, oh, I don't know, I mean, I'm in my 70s, should I even be concerned about this anymore? And I say, why would you not? If you're alive, pleasure heals, right? And so we have to also cut through those social messages that, you know, as we get older, this should be less important. It's as important as you want it to be. Right?
It's in your best interest.
Yeah. Now, if somebody tells me, yeah, I'm not really interested anymore, okay, no problem. If it doesn't cause distress, no problem. But for people who say, like, no, this really is important to me, and I still want to be able to do this, and say, then let's find a way. Okay? However old you are. Yeah.
Last question I'll throw out. We have some people that are single in the crowd.
Yeah.
Certainly, we have some people that are in their 50s or that. How do you suggest they handle the dating aspect of a relationship?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, in terms of dating, I would say, you know, being open, right? You know, you don't have to apologize for your body working a certain way, right? And if you think about, like, what is attractive to people? People are attracted by you being you. And so kind of navigating this dating world and being open, here's what I'm experiencing, and here's the way that I like to engage, right? Here are the things. Think about the possibility of what you do have to offer somebody. And if you're single and you're not looking to date too, I would say also, find ways to experience with yourself, right? There's lots of toys and things that don't require a partner. Your sexuality, your experience of pleasure is yours to own, whether you share that with a partner or whether you're by yourself. Now, how many of you growing up were kind of like given messages of like, ooh, you only masturbate when you don't have access to the better stuff, or, oh, it's gross, or it's silly, right? I mean, watch any movies, American Pie, right? It's funny or it's gross. Nah, those are messages. I want to give you full permission to consider maybe that's vitality. Maybe it's perfectly natural. Good question. Yeah.
I'm done with my questions.
Okay.
With that, I want to thank Dr. Denton for coming today.
Absolutely.